everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meets and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Abide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Well, merry meet and welcome. And tonight we're going to be talking with S.M. Harlow about her new book, A Tea Witch's Grimoire. Now, Susana discovered her love of wildcraft 2 decades ago. She doesn't look that old. But when she's not writing, she's studying to become a doctor of traditional naturopathy. Oh my God, I can't say that word. Naturopathy. There, maybe that's it. If there's any comments and questions for Susana, they can only come from the Para-X chat room. So if you're listening live on the broadcast and you'd like to be chatty, come over and visit with us at paraxradionetwork.com. All right, Susana, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really good, and thank you for the compliment.
Well, I saw the picture, and I saw you briefly, when we got connected, and, 20 years ago, you probably were 2 years old or something. I don't know. It's just...
Oh, well, wow, thank you. Mm-hmm. Actually, the pictures that you often see, the one that's actually in the book, I had taken that while I was pregnant. So I was just glowing with life, So, yes. But thank you for having me on here. I'm really excited. And by the way, beautiful intro. I absolutely love that. Like just starting the intro with the Wiccan read. Lovely.
Yes, it's good. I like that too. I've done several different ones, but I think I like this one the best. All right, so I've got my cup of ginger tea right next to me, so I think I'm ready to go. And
that's awesome. I have it too. I actually have it too. Ginger tea, ginger lemon.
Okay. Well, mine's just straight ginger. I'll take it straight on the rocks. No, I love ginger tea, and I love jasmine tea. Those are 2 of my favorites. But I would seem to think that when you talk about tea, it's always kind of synonymous with witches. And my guess is that the wise women years and years ago were one with nature and probably learned how to make potions and remedies to cure people's ills. And then somewhere down the line, perhaps they thought, oh, well, we can drink this for pleasure as well. Am I on the right track?
Yes, you're very much on the right track. From remedies to comfort to just taking a mindful moment with yourself, and I'm sure even for some magical moments as well.
Yeah, and it's just weird because I don't at least think of witches sitting down in the morning for a cup of coffee. It just somewhere it doesn't fit with my thought processes. I'm sure they do, but still.
I could think of a good number of coffee witches.
Yeah, I know there are. I guess I'm just thinking about all those nice tea services that you see on Facebook or, somewhere else, and they're beautiful teapots and things, and they're all kind of witchy themed, and they're really cute. And yeah, that's and they all to brew tea with, not just put a tea bag in the cup. But I liked it. that you opened the book by saying that it holds the crafted tea recipes that might be found in any witch's old dusty cupboard. And I've always said, especially this time of year, that at least one cobweb and a sprinkling of dust is necessary in the house. Do you agree with that?
I do. It's its own special protective charms.
Yeah, and I scared myself with a charm today because I was opening the curtains, and all of a sudden I felt something right down my arm, and it was a cobweb. And at first I didn't know what it was, and I'm like shaking the arm, and oh God, it's a cobweb. Put it back,
No, yes, it's a part of your weaving spell.
It was weaving all right for about 3 seconds, yeah. And then I thought, oh, poor thing. I put it back where it came from. Okay, so let's the coffee and tea thing talk about a minute, because I got curious. And I read that it's estimated that the world drinks 3 cups of tea for every 1 cup of coffee. And maybe that's because coffee beans don't grow in everybody's backyard. But then this might be an exaggeration, of course, but most people can go out into the backyards, and just about any place outdoors, there is something that we could make tea out of, isn't there?
Yes, it's true. If you are a wonderful forager, they're more than likely that you can find something in your backyard, such as some yarrow, or perfect example, because most people will find it in their backyards or their front lawns, as dandelion. Dandelion is probably a number 1 weed that you would find in any place, and that is the perfect tea ingredient. It holds so much nutrients in it, but it also holds so much magical powers.
I've never tried it. Is it a bitter taste? Is it a mild taste? It's hard to explain, but is it something that people will say, okay, we need a lot of sugar in here or something?
Well, I guess it depends on the preference. Some people like it, like you love your ginger straight, and some people can't handle too much of a ginger straight shot. They need some lemon or some honey in it. So it just depends. But personally, I love roasted dandelion root. I have often found it as a great substitute for coffee because of that roastedness in it, and I like it with just a little bit of some oat milk, to make it kind of a roasted creamy brew, The leaves, though, themselves, or the blossoms, they're very light. The blossoms are, let's see, how can I describe it? It's not quite like chamomile, not quite like jasmine. It has its own type of sweetness to it.
Okay.
It is really nice. And the plant itself is very earthy and clean overall. So, it's a preference. But I highly recommend the roasted root. It's really good.
I'm just thinking, what have I got in the yard that I could make something out of? I've got roses. Is there rose tea? Yeah.
Rose blossoms or the rose hips.
Okay.
If you grow them yourselves and you don't put any kind of,
pesticide or anything.
Yeah. Do not take it from a flower shop, people.
No.
But if you grow it yourself, definitely you can make some really lovely rose tea. Do
the different colors of roses make a difference in the taste of the tea with roses?
I found the more red and pink and yellow and white, so they're the lighter colors have more of a lighter taste to them. Whereas the darker ones kind of have just the slightly more, I wouldn't say bitter, but it's a little bit more less light. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, I get things growing in my garden that I don't plant. And so, the birds drop seeds or whatever. Because I had a beautiful empty pot that I was going to put something in, and I saw something growing in there. And I thought, oh, it looks healthy, whatever it is. And it grew and it grew, and I got that thing on my phone that I can take a picture and they'll tell me what it is and, if it's safe to even get near. But I'm growing a lot of pig's weed back there. Now, that's probably not a tea, but it's really like a green side dish. And it's strange.
Fresh salad.
Yeah, there's just so much edible. And then there was some kind of a lettuce that's growing in there. Oh. I forget what it's called, but it's the next thing before the kind of lettuce we eat. And it is edible. They said it is kind of, bitter a little bit. But, you just never know. But it's a good thing to find out and look in your yard and see what you might be able to make tea out of and what they're good for. I mean, for pleasure or for healing or whatever, magic things. Get brave. If somebody were going to plant a garden of things that you can make tea out of, what would you suggest putting it in?
Putting it in as in a pot or in the ground?
As in planting those things that will grow, that will turn into...
which herbs to plant.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Definitely like the common herbs that you would often find in tea is definitely a wonderful beginner start to go about, such as like the chamomile and roses, chamomile, the thyme, and some peppermints.
Yeah, I was just going to say mints are always good.
Some, let's see, peppermints, rosemary, parsley, sage, marjoram, the ones that you probably would often see in your own type of kitchen to use in your cooking. Right. You can do the same for your teas as well. Jasmine.
Oh, yes. I'm going back. I'm scrolling at the chat room. And when we were talking about, I think, dandelion tea, there was a question, do you wrap it in something or just drop it in the cup?
Well, I guess it depends if you want to have it fresh or dried. When it comes to the roasted dandelion root that I was talking about, I like to have it dried first, and then I end up roasting it in the oven. And when you dry it, there's different processes, however you like to dry, or however it is easier for you to dry these plants. You can wrap them up gently in a brown paper bag and hang them upside down. Or you can use a dehydrator dryer that can also do that as well, really fast and easy. Those are really handy. I have one right behind me. You can oven dry, setting it on your lowest oven temperature setting and arrange it that way to have it dry. Yes, oven, dehydrator, hanged. Any one of those things to have your herbs dry is a good way. Or you could have it fresh if you really wanted to, if you enjoy that fresh taste. You would just need to use more of it in order to steep it in your tea.
Okay. Another question or a comment. She says she uses rose, honeysuckle, lavender, and gomphrena globosa mix as a medicinal tea. Would you recommend that?
It sounds lovely. It sounds like a really good balance.
Okay.
Although I couldn't quite hear that last one.
Because I couldn't pronounce it. Globosa. There were two things, gomphrena and globosa.
Oh, is that like the form of comfrey?
I have no clue, but she can answer. We have a 30-second delay, but she can let me know that that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
You said lavender, jasmine.
No jasmine. Rose, honeysuckle, lavender, and gomphrena and globosa. Jeez.
Well, as far as medicinal goes, I know that the first three will be very helpful, especially in helping to relax and um yeah, I would also definitely help flavor wise too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Magically also would help as well in the intentions of mental clarity and peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. And somebody in the chat room said that they like to grow different herbs for tea: lemon balm, echinacea, calendula, raspberry leaf, mullein. I don't know how to say that one. Mullein. Yeah, and okay. So if you can't grow it, suppose you do have those dried herbs, from the store, like the oregano leaf and all that. They can just be made into tea, right? They don't have to do anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of people have, well, maybe I shouldn't say a lot of people. In most cases, you can find in your closest cities apothecary stores or holistic stores that carry a lot of these loose herbs that you can go and pick up yourself and bring home and blend it, whether medicinally or magically, And some cases, I even know of some friends, and I have as well gone to markets and searched throughout the tea aisle and the tea boxes and see what ingredients they have, and if it's something that is what I am seeking and needing, then I bring back home. And if something is needed to add to it from my own apothecary, then, I add to it that way. That's the beautiful thing about this practice. You can match it to your method.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the answer to Gomphrena globosa is a globe-shaped flower bud that's purple.
Oh.
And a bit spiky.
Yes, okay. I know what she's speaking of, but I actually never tried it.
Well, she's lived to be in the chat room, so I guess it's good.
I know. I need to write this down.
Mm-hmm. So it's Gomphrena globosa. And, yeah. Good.
Thank you for sharing that.
I was you were talking about where you can get different things, herbs and stuff. I was in a botanica a couple of weeks ago with a friend because she needed to get some cola de caballo for a urinary issue, and she was low on manzanilla for a stomach issue. And, I didn't realize I was sitting there looking at all those things that were in there, dozens and dozens of other natural remedies for different ailments. It just kind of seemed to me like in some places everything old is new again, huh? Because that's what people always did use for different things, right?
Definitely. The whole holistic practice is in a way being revived, which is wonderful, because it has started from home and through many different generations, many different cultures. It had began as, I guess one would say, as a preventative practice, and trying to keep your body healthy, whole, and well. And, starting from there, it should help down your path in a way. And it is wonderful to see it being brought back to life, I would say.
Yeah.
And
I think people were kind of afraid to go into stores like Botanicas because they thought they were like black magic stores or, boogity things. Maybe because I'm in LA, there's more Hispanic stores like that, and people just understand what they are and, go and get it, get the holistic things because they're less expensive than going to some thing online or something, where here's $10 for an ounce of this and that, So if people have botanicas around where they live, I think it's it's a good idea if you need all those different herbs, just kind of go in there and check it out, right?
Exactly. What is exactly a botanica but a curandela? Oh, I said that wrong. Curadera. They healer.
Yeah.
A healer that comes and, they are a healer of your mind, body, and soul, So don't be afraid, people. It's okay. They're there for you.
Yeah. And, these botanicas also have food and stuff. I mean, you can get some good food in there, too. It's not all about, herbs and stuff, but...
Some delicious candy.
Oh, yeah. I like them. The pico ones. So, you know what, there's this age-old... I'm going to bring up the age-old debate for a minute about tea classifications. That people say real tea is broken down into 6 main types, and herbal teas are really not teas. What do you think?
Okay. Yes. Well, so if you're going with the real traditional base, yes, tea is from the plant Camellia sinensis. And when you refer to tea, often that is what it's meant, the white teas, green teas, black teas, oolong. And that is usually is what comes to mind when you actually say tea. And herbal teas are, of course, they are of all the other herbs that you bring together to brew. And I mean, I am not in that debate. Tea is tea, depending on what you prefer. If you prefer the Camellia sinensis, then that's wonderful. It has its own magical properties, just like all the other herbs, that deserve to also be enjoyed. So,
yeah, I've always thought that was kind of silly because I use the word tea as a beverage, not having a label on it, But
this is true. I mean, when I was taught by a tea master, he in a way he kind of referenced it in that way too. Tea was the Camellia sinensis, and herbs were used for medicine. Basically, that's what it was strictly for. Which, in a way, I understand too, because herbs and different types, they are meant to be used in a way to help heal the body. And they must be used respectfully because it does have its own effects depending on which one you use on your bodies, So I understand why he referenced those 2 separate things.
Yeah, I guess, to each his own, but I just like to think, I don't like labels in general. I mean, certain things you have to...
I am so with you on that.
Yeah, I'm a witch. What kind of a witch are you? Okay, well, I'm...
I know. What's up with those whole titles? You're a witch. Embrace it.
Yeah, that's bad enough for some people, and you just want to turn around and say, oh, I do black magic, and so you really want to know more, and that'll people get quiet for a minute.
Stumps them, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, somebody else, Kevin wrote, clover can be found in yards as well as plantain and wild violet. Those are good things.
Yeah, that is very true.
I have clover in my yard. Didn't think about that. Because when we were kids, I don't know, we would take things from the grass and stuff and kind of chew on them, because some of them tasted really good. Luckily, we didn't kill ourselves with anything horrible. But, at that point, when we're kids and you just say, oh, this comes from the earth and this tastes really good or whatever, little berries on trees that are not poisonous. And it's a good thing not to start believing when you get older that everything has to be black and white and it has to come in the store and it has to be wrapped up. And, like wildcraft and learning things is so beneficial in many, many ways, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It connects you back to the earth in a way. It connects you back to your inner child, that beautiful innocence that the earth in a way still holds true, and it's just, It's beautiful when you can really just connect to that magical stream and just leaving all those fears and worries behind and just seeking your own wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Through it all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, we're going back to childhood for a minute. What led you into your interest in botanicals? What kicked in?
Well, I would say I definitely began my interest, like when it came to the healing aspects of it and the spiritual aspects of it. It began when I was with my grandmother a lot. She, took care of me for a good minute in my childhood. And it was through her that I got to learn a lot about using your faith and your spirituality and your love for another and using that to heal other people. She had a beautiful way of connecting deeply with others just by feeling them and knowing what is wrong with them. And she would just connect in that way and give her remedies. And, so she really inspired me. Learning from that, I used to go around in my school and basically try to do the same with other kids. Whenever something happened, I was like right there, but yes, I and kind of very much like your story, I did the same, walking around in nature and finding some plant or herb that kind of called to me, and I connected to it. And it was just that beautiful curiosity to connect with it, to taste it, to feel it and see what it does. I definitely had a deep connection with nature when I was a child. Still do. I live in the middle of the woods now.
That's a good place to be.
Oh, yes. Especially coming from Los Angeles, too.
It helps, sometimes in Los Angeles we don't have places to go that are, not so busy and, cars and stuff. But I'm in the San Gabriel Valley, and the Angeles National Forest is I'd say about a mile or two away from here. So,
yes.
Yeah, so that's, that you can go and hike and take a load off your mind or the monkey off your back. Just go walking in the forest. Yeah, that's important.
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful. Mine was Griffith Park.
Oh, God, Ferndale in Griffith Park. Yep. Oh, my God. I used to go there and just love it. From people that don't know what we're talking about, Griffith Park is this humongous park. I mean, acres and acres and acres and mountains and all kinds of stuff for hiking. But it's beautiful. And there is a place called Ferndale. And you walk in there and there's a little creek going through it and all different kinds of ferns. And, oh, God, it's just like a fairy tale place.
Mm-hmm. So true. I went on a little field trip there when I was younger.
See? Everybody
For
knows.
Others, anyone knows where the Greek theater is or the observatory that they probably see in most movies, that is where it is. That's Griffith Park.
It's in the neighborhood, and it's huge. And for those who, are paranormal investigators and stuff listeners, Griffith Park does have ghosts. And that's a good thing, too. Yeah.
And they come when you call.
They do a lot of stuff. Oh, my gosh. But, so it's just, being one with nature. And you don't have to be in the big city not to have them. I mean, they have parks. And, I mean, there's always some place that you can go to get some greenery. And it makes you feel so good, just to be out that way. We've got about 2 minutes. So I'm just going to ask a quick question. That's going to take a long time too. I'm looking at the questions I've got, but I was going to ask how do we empower our teas? And then I kind of flipped another page and saw that crystals fit in with tea magic. So, what other things can help boost our teas?
Well, I will always say that what boosts your tea magic is you. It's your very essence, your very power that you have within you. And a lot of the book, you would see that when it comes to blending your tea or having it centered and ready to brew, you give it your breath of life. Your breath holds your energy, your power, and in doing so, you infuse the brew, the herbs, with that very same power. But other than that, there's always other things, other elements that you can include to help empower your tea, such as a fire element from a candle, or what heats the very water that brews it, or, as you said, crystals. Crystals have become a wonderful antenna, I guess I would say, charging your herbs too for specific purposes and frequencies. So that's another aspect that you can help.
And also teas. I mean, people are talking lately a lot about crystal water,
Yes,
and making tea from that. So, yeah, it's really good. All right, we've taken up 2 minutes. So we're gonna go brew a 2-minute break. So stay put, and we'll be back very shortly.
Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. Covenant House is the national leader providing safe housing for youth, 50 years strong. Every youth who walks into Covenant House gets clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. So, look closer at Covenant House and help us fight youth homelessness. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X. Missed an episode of Stirring the Cauldron? Then be sure to check out marlabrooks.com and check out the archive. And while you're there, check out Marla's weekly Witches Oracle card reading. Explore the site to find many great resources, such as information on tarot, oracle readings, metaphysical consultations, and links to all of Marla's books. That's marlabrooks.com. Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And my guest tonight is S.M. Harlow, and we're talking about her book, A Tea Witch's Grimoire. All right, let me get that question that would probably have a longer answer that we had right before the break. You've got teas for lots of different purposes, and some of those I never thought about. For example, what are horoscope teas, and how do we align with our astrological signs?
Yes, that's a great question. So, horoscope teas, when I was blending together these teas, I had friends that basically, I had a Cancer, I had a Virgo friend, I had a Taurus friend, I had myself, an Aquarius, and in a way they were seeking out teas that would best fit with them, like my Virgo friend. She was like, is there a tea for me? Man, I'm just so I'm so overbearing. I need something to kind of calm me down, balance me out, refocus me in order to get to work and do what I need to do. And I was like, well, that's a good question, let me get back to you. And that's how I was able to put together these teas in hopes of basically bringing in the good qualities, balancing out the good qualities within your horoscope sign, but also being mindful of the qualities that you feel like you need to work on. And in other ways, you can also take another horoscope tea that is not your own. For example, I'm an Aquarius, so sometimes I'm very much lost in the clouds, and if I feel like I need a grounding quality that I know I can find, like in a Taurus, for example, then I probably would decide to brew together that tea in order to inspire that quality within myself,
That makes sense. So what is your tea made up of?
For Aquarius? Well, let me see. Let me quickly take a look, because sometimes I just can't remember on the top of my head.
No, I know. I don't mean to do that.
There's just so
people.
many. No, it's okay. There's so many, but that is why it is important to have a grimoire.
Yes, exactly it. And while you're looking
when
it up,
you get older.
Yeah. While you're digging that up, I have to say that it's a hardback book, but it's tiny. Well, not tiny. It's small, but it is packed with so much. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I love the way they made it. I love the artwork on it. I mean, it's really, really nice. And so you look at the outside, and then the inside is even better. Well, not even better, but really good. You covered all bases.
Thank you. I'm really with you on that. When I got my first copy, I really did squeal and did a little happy dance and hugged it very closely, because it was a perfect little tiny book, but I loved it that way because I honestly tucked it into many of my little bags that I like to take with me to, like, in an apothecary place or outside in my backyard, and it fits perfectly in a little bag, and it's just not too much in the way, but it holds all the knowledge that is needed. But yeah.
And I don't want people to think it's the size of the palm of your hand. It isn't. It's like half the size of a real book, a regular book, like a paperback book kind of. And there's like almost 200 pages in there. So it's not, it's not a chintzy book. And they
tiny yet mighty.
Yes, it is. The print is tiny too, and that's why they got so much in there. But yeah, it's great. All right. So did you find your tea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll shut up then.
For the Aquarius tea, I have about 1 teaspoon of white tea, 1 teaspoon of saffron, 1 teaspoon of bachelor's button, 1 teaspoon of shredded coconut, and 1 vanilla bean.
That sounds good.
Yes.
And all of those teas are in the book, right?
Yes.
Some of them? Yeah? Okay. So everybody can find out. But at first I went, what's a horoscope tea? It just didn't dawn on me. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's what it is. Okay. So, hang on. I've got a cat in my face again. Come on, move.
Oh.
I know. He's always in my way. But I love him.
I love that.
But, okay, so you said that the book contains treasures and long-lost practices that have not often been brought to light. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's kind of like what we were mentioning before, how, these generational practices that have been made and held to bring about a completion and wholeness and health. I always kind of felt it in the same manner when it comes to folk magic, when it comes to the kitchen magic with your ancestors, your grandmothers, the ones that whisper to you what can be done, what can be used, when you're young and you grow up to remember those secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, that's kind of what I mean by it. They've always been kept secret or kept quiet, kept to the self, because, a lot of people probably wouldn't take kindly to hearing about different magical purposes and and what can be done with them, and the belief of this magic,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what I mean by taking this craft out of the cupboard, bringing it out to the light, reminding people of the magic that runs deep in their veins from their own grandparents, ancestors, bloodlines,
Yeah, whether they know it or not, they're there. And I think if you start opening up and trying to do some of these things, I think their ancestors will give you a little nudge and make it all better, more understandable.
It'll just click. Yes, it will click. It will feel like home again.
Mm-hmm. Even though you didn't know where you were, but yes, it's a very good feeling. Yeah, it is. We can't talk about teas without mentioning tea divination because, that's been around since antiquity. And, we've seen people reading tea leaves, if not in person, on the media, on TV, movies. But as I was reading up on it in your book, you mentioned having a favorite tea to do readings with. And that, I never gave it any thought about tea readers using specific teas for specific reasons. So I want to hear a little bit more about that.
I actually even wanted to mention it earlier, especially when you had brought up coffee witches, And I was just about to say, how, if you think about tea divination or tasseomancy, that there have been some that use tea leaves, but there have also been a whole culture that has used coffee grounds, as well to do the very same. And the same can be said for your favorite tea leaves. Like, for example, for me, when I do tea leaf readings, I always prefer my Iron Goddess of Mercy oolong tea. I know this is a big mouthful, but yes, I had discovered her, and I say her because it was just it's tea, it's oolong tea, literally named after the Goddess of Mercy, Tai Guan Yin. And I discovered her back when I was 19 years old, and I was practicing tea leaf reading, and it was just the fullness, the length of it, the ease and clarity that came through the leaves was where I found my preference. Like, this is the tea that I need to use. But others can do the same when if let's say, for example, they find other herbs that call to them, that call to their insight, their psychic abilities. And lo and behold, they also have those same correspondences. They could do the same. They can brew it, and then they can read the leaves from that very same favored tea.
And I've always thought oolong is a very strong tea. I know you can make strong tea, with others, but so the strength of oolong, that makes it all different and helpful, doesn't it help? Instead of something that's chamomile, seems like it would be a very gentle thing to work with as opposed to some of the other stronger ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, oolong to me, I would say it has always been a balanced tea. And out of all of the other ones, the green, the white, the black, that one has always been in the middle, the balance. So it's not, I guess it also depends on which oolong you choose. There are some that are definitely a little bit more strong brewed, and then there are others that are actually a lot lighter and very pleasant. So it depends.
Okay. And then there are people that are saying that Well, there's a term, and I saw it in the book too, blooming teas.
Yeah.
What are they and what are they used for?
Blooming teas are a wonderful visual effect, I would say, when you first see it, when you first experience it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they are tea leaves that have been bundled very tightly together that forms a ball.
Mm-hmm.
And within this ball holds different types of blossoms, from chrysanthemums to roses to jasmine. And once it is being brewed, once you pour over the hot water over it, it will start to unravel and quite literally bloom in front of you. And you see those blossoms just floating up to the very top of the surface of the teapot. And it's beautiful. And when I first saw it ever, my mind went instantly witchy. And it was like, that is literally a spell brought to life right in front of me. Much like the Rose of Jericho when it gets resurrected,
Mm-hmm.
I saw the same potential within a blooming tea. And that is what I began using it for, especially when it came to very special Sabbats, when it comes to rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And with those type of intentions for your own life, that's what I majority would use them for that very essence, like it is being brought to life.
Well, somebody in chat room said that she has a glass teapot to view blooming teas.
Yes.
So that they're fun teas. Yeah.
Yes, they really are visually appealing, but very magical and powerful. And honestly, I say for any tea witch, you definitely need a glass teapot so that you can see the beauty of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if this is an easy answer or a different answer, but there's a question about actually how do you read the teas?
Oh, yes. Well, you'll find in the book, or you can let your intuition guide you, that tea leaf reading, it's something to be enjoyed and take your time with yourself or with the company of friends, or family or whomever. And you generally you put the tea leaves inside the teacup, and then you pour over your hot water over it and let it steep and let it brew. And then you generally enjoy it in that manner, trying to avoid tea leaves as you drink it. But then once you get to the very bottom of the tea or your cup, right before, when you have maybe about a sip left, you then turn it over on the saucer to allow the liquid to fall. But this also will help form the shapes and symbols of the tea itself. So go into it mindfully when you do so. Right before you flip over your cup, some people will go in it with a question already in mind, or some people, just like how with tarot and oracle, they allow their spirit guides to just bring forth the message that they need to know. And so they flip it over, and then they look into the cup, and basically much like when you're scrying or you're looking into, your crystal or black mirror, you allow your insight, your vision to just kind of ease in and allow the symbols to just come forth, just allowing the messages to come forth. And that's when you start to not necessarily search for the symbols, but definitely let them come to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And some people, I have a list in the book of what most of these common symbols can mean, but just like any other person who does tarot or oracles or scryings, they can often just let their own intuition be the answer to what they mean.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, in the book, also, I just opened it and I didn't see this before, but there's a little ribbon in there to mark the place. My eyes are not good. But you also have a section on Sabbath teas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they popular? I mean, like, there's different types of jasmine teas, or, you know, everybody has their own thing. Are these teas that you put together for the Sabbaths?
Yes, I have. I've enjoyed every single one of these recipes with friends and family on the Sabbaths.
Oh my God, that must be great. Well, with Samhain coming up, and you have the book in your hand, I'd like to hear what ingredients are in a Samhain tea.
Sure. Yes. In fact, it's kind of funny. I just opened it and there it was. So that's convenient.
See?
My Grimoire is talking to me.
Uh-huh.
So, within the Samhain tea blend, it's 1 teaspoon of red rooibos, 1 teaspoon dried cranberries, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin seeds, 1 stick of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of whole cloves. And when it comes to brewing this, I also love to incorporate a maple milk to it. Just to kind of make it a nice milky chai type of tea in a way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the maple milk is very easy to make. You just heat up a cup of milk and add 1 to 2 teaspoons of maple flavoring or syrup to it and just bring to a small simmer and stir it for a minute or two, concentrating upon it, and then adding it in the very end of your ritual, or, you know, when you partake. So it is delicious.
It sounds delicious, and you've got the pumpkin and you know, pumpkins and seeds, and yeah. I'm glad I have the book, because now I have all the recipes. I might share, but you know, I mean, this is kind of, you've got so much information in the book. You've got conversion tables, you've got brewing times, you've got magical goals and intentions, and herbs by elemental attributes, and herbs substitution, which is really interesting. And, you know, I don't think there's anything that you left out, you know. I mean, it's rather amazing. But, you know, like, I do a spell a week, and I've done a couple of spell books, and I love sitting down there because I do them in rhyme. And I really love sitting there doing that and rhyming. And I'm just thinking that you're doing the same thing with your teas. You're just like sitting there gleefully rubbing your hands together and making.
How did you know?
Well, all right, spells, tea. You know, it witches do the same thing. It's just a little different thing. But yeah, it's got to be something amazing. I mean, people have probably, like you said earlier, people wanted to know what their tea would be, you know, through their horoscope or whatever. But have you had to, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I need you to get a tea, it's all about me, can you do that? I mean, I guess you really would have to know the person to do that, though, right?
Yes, and I have with like those really close friends who come, you know, and they are something that they, like a tea really about them and the qualities that they have and the qualities that are within them, but they just need to be stirred up a bit, brewed a little longer, you know. Most definitely, you know, there are so many different types of herbs out there that over the years I have felt have their own personalities in a way, you know. Mm-hmm. And you can, like a puzzle, bring these herbs together in a way that emulates this person that is seeking that. Like my friend. I said, you are definitely chai, but you are also definitely pure feminine goddess. So you need these chais and you need these roses and vanillas, and just bring them together, this powerful, strong, feminine goddess, and to remember that, you know. So and actually even just recently I did one for myself. That was for my book launch party that I got to enjoy with everybody. And, it really brought a tear to my eye because I was just like, oh my gosh, they're drinking me.
Well, I think, we all have preferences in flowers and stuff, in herbs and incenses. And so if we probably ever stop to think and say, well, gee, I don't know that I would mix, let's say, jasmine with ginger, but, people can just kind of experiment with it. And
they could go wild. Yes.
And, okay, so suppose you have, what do you think about tea bags, tea in bags? I mean, is that magically and healthfully the same as getting other things like fresher ones?
I am no stickler when it comes to tea bags. Everyone has their own preferences. And in fact, I have often seen tea bags as their own form of a tool when it comes to this craft. I have mentioned before, and you can find a few spells within the book itself where I have even sewn sigils within tea bags.
Oh, nice.
Or with the ones that have, the little tag that comes and hangs outside of your teacup. I have even drawn sigils onto those tags. I have even used the strings to create knots of power within them. So, every single aspect when it comes to tea brewing, the whole tea process, they all have their own magical tools and power to it.
And everybody that gets the book can find out all about that and everything you need to know. Every question you have in your head, it's answered in the book. And I wish I could brew a tea that would stretch us an hour longer than we have, but I haven't figured out that one yet. So before we go, why don't you give out your web information and where else you can be found on social media and stuff?
Sure thing. I have a blog, which is theteawitchblog.com, but you can find me in most other social medias from Instagram, Twitter, Thread, Facebook. On Instagram, Twitter, Thread, those are under the Tea Witch blog. And when it comes to Facebook, I have it as s.m.harlow's books. And I actually even just created a TikTok today.
We can't help ourselves. I mean,
Yes. I was okay.
I didn't want to be a Twitter for the longest time because I thought, well, that makes me a twit. But now it's not Twitter anymore. It's an X. And
that's right.
And I'm kind of, moving a little bit into TikTok too. So anyway, we are going to go. But thank you so much. At any time you want to come back and talk tea, you're welcome to, because it's a lot of stuff that we didn't cover. Yeah.
Yes, I would absolutely love that. This was so fun. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, you're very welcome. And let's thank everybody for listening in tonight. And until next time, everybody, blessed be and merry meet again. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more fun. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2009.
You have been listening to the Para X Radio Network.